A lot of these guys are fearing what is taking place. Jamie Dimon says this is the most dangerous times we've had in America in decades. Michael Burry shorted the S&P 500, $1.6 billion of his clients' money.
My intuition is that a recession is inevitable, but the market can remain crazy longer than you can remain solvent, whatever the quote is. Why hasn't it happened yet? Only the paranoid survive, but how do we turn paranoia into an action plan?
Yeah, so everything is right now about mapping out different possibilities. World War III takes place. What do you think are the chances of this taking place? Ray Dalio says 50%.
Yes,
okay.
he does.
So if World War III happens, what happens to the economy? Who's going to be the parties involved? Are we going to be involved purely through proxy, or is there going to be attack here? Then you write down the possibilities. Okay. If this happens, what are you going to do? If this happens, what are you going to do? Then next, what happens if unemployment all of a sudden goes to 7%? What happens if inflation goes down? What happens if Powell starts lowering rates back down to 5-4%? Holy, that's going to be crazy. But here's a couple things that we have to be thinking about. Credit card debt, highest it's ever been. You know what's the craziest thing about credit card debt being the highest it's ever been? The average interest rate on credit card is the highest it's ever been.
Jesus.
Forget about the debt. So people are worried about the debt. The average is 23% on credit card. You know what 23% means. That means the debt doubles about 2.5 years.
That's like loan shark.
That's loan shark. 3 years, your debt is doubling, right? But that's what we got right now on credit cards. So our debt is record breaking. Forgiveness for your school loan is gone. So now you have to start paying for it. That's $300-400 a month that people are expecting, I think October, November starting. Then go to the corporations you were talking about that are borrowing money. This year, their interest payment is going to end up being around $530 billion. Just interest.
Oh my God.
Next year, it's going to 730. Next year, it's going to 1.1 trillion. In the next 5 years, it's going between 1.3 to 1.5 trillion dollars just on the corporate debt. Next part, mortgages. We're not saying anything crazy with people with bad credit not making payments. We're still good. Car payments in subprime. They're seeing a spike in defaults where people are not making car payments. The first sign you're seeing on what's taking place. Let's go to the next one. That's the scariest one. U.S. has $33 trillion of debt, worst it's ever been, the highest it's ever been. What does that really mean? Nobody can really figure it out. Here's what it means. Every single time the rates go up 1 point, just 1 point for the U.S. government, our interest payments increased by $320 billion. So imagine we raise rates by 3 points. Just interest, it's $1 trillion more per year. If it's 6%, $2 trillion more per year. That's that. Then last thing that I'll just kind of get you to be thinking about. Anytime you want to know if the economy is back to normal, go to Vegas. If Vegas is humming, like, okay, we're good. And always, whenever you go to Vegas, talk to cab drivers and talk to the drivers who are doing Uber. Always ask, how's conventions doing? Are you noticing things canceling? No, this has been crazy for us the last 30 months. Everything's good. But if they start seeing a downturn, they're typically an indicator of what's to come. One of my friends, their construction company does very well. We have these 3 clients that we have who are doing transportation. 2 of them, numbers are down 40-50%. One of them is doing $1 billion a year. Their revenue is down 70%. Why would transportation be down 70%? Aren't Walmart, Amazon companies ordering stuff to ship it from here to there? Why would that be lowering? What do they know that we don't know? Again, these are people who have data to insider stuff that we can sit there and say, these are great indicators when you're studying these things on what's going on. Does this mean recession is going to come here? My bigger fear is a reverse market crash, which Venezuela just went through. All of a sudden, rates get lowered and Dow and S&P goes. And Dow goes from 33, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, it just goes boom.
Is that just the dollar losing its purchasing power?
Yes, exactly. That's what happens. The more we're printing, like the inventory increases the more we print money. The more you print dollars and it's more accessible, the less it's valued, the less it's worth. You sit there and you're like, okay, so does this mean guys are not going to make a lot of money? No. You're going to see the first trillionaire in the next 24 months because none of this is going to affect the guys at the top. None of it. Every time they print money, the guys at the top make more money. If there's anybody that should be against printing money, it's low and middle income families. If there's anybody that's for printing money, guess who it is? The guys at the top. Why? Because the poor and middle America can't keep money. They spend it. And when they spend it, what do they buy? A product owned by somebody in the S&P 500 or other people who have businesses. Money flows up. They can keep printing money all they want. So when low and middle income families are like, look at these guys, all they care about is themselves. Let that bill pass for $2.7 trillion. You simply look at them and you say, you have no clue how money works. Guess what? Let's print $10 trillion. Rich are okay with it. You ain't going to get the rich complaining about printing $10 trillion or $5 trillion. BlackRock's going to be like, all right, cool. $8 to $10 trillion of money in our ETFs, and we're buying up a bunch of different companies. We're buying up all these properties today. Right now, it's going to be nothing, but in the next few years, you have to go through us, and we dictate the market, and we're going to own it all. And what are you going to do about it? The idea of middle America not being able to make the money they need to make to be able to afford a house, send their kids to school, live in a nice place, enjoy some of their dreams, maybe not the biggest ones, but some of their dreams are going to become a reality. Middle America is getting smaller and smaller and smaller every single time we print money.
You have to have a mechanism by which you put this new money that you created out of thin air by fiat, literally just saying it now exists. You have to put it into the system. The way it's put into the system is by buying assets, because typically low and middle income people don't buy assets. They buy products, like you were saying. Then they aren't beneficiary of that unless there are stimulation checks. Now those they will get sent directly to them. So there are ways to put it in their pocket. But what you're effectively doing is socializing losses. So you are spreading the loss out across everybody. My dollar buys less, and so it takes more dollars to buy the same thing because nothing fundamentally happened. The business that I own a piece of did not become more productive, and therefore can actually generate more by adding more value to the world. Once you understand that, like, I actually, as a wealthy person, do complain when people print money, because I'm like, hey, there is a point at which you break everything, because the money is just going to hyperinflate, and it isn't only going to be the stock market that goes up, it's going to be the cost of bread and gas and taking your family to a movie and all of that. When COVID happened, that actually kept us from going into something that probably should have been worse than the Great Depression. The money printed their way out of it, and we ended up being okay because it was spread across a lot of people. Now, because I am such a student of Ray Dalio, I know that governments, once they start money printing, they can't stop. And every time in human history that it's been used as a tool, it's used until it breaks. Until it breaks, every time, without exception. And typically, as it's racing towards breaking, I think it's 8 out of the last 14 times it's ended up in a hot war. As the big debt cycle comes to an end and money's inflating away to nothing, debt is completely out of control, nobody can make their payments, everybody's defaulting, you have to have a complete reset of the wealth, which is, I think, why everybody calls this the Great Reset or the Big Reset or whatever. Because we are forestalling catastrophe right now by printing, but we are only forestalling it. And nobody, I've had a lot of people on the show, nobody can tell me how you pull out of this death spiral other than austerity, and no one's going to do austerity.
Yeah, so how can you fix this thing? My question would be, how do you fix this thing in a year? No one's going to know how to fix it because it's not going to happen. How do you address this and make progress towards getting better over a 20-year span? Okay, now we're talking. 40-year span? Even better. The problem with America today is the following, which, by the way, is a beautiful thing, but it's also a problem. Whoever that gets elected, we have cyclical cycles, okay?